Who will protect the Mexi-verse against the powers of evil? A hero with determination, who doesn't crack under pressure. With a statuesque poise of the old gods.
Guacamelee 2 is a Metroidvania action platformer developed and published by Drinkbox Studios in 2018. A follow-up to one of their most popular games, Guacamelee, a Mexican-inspired luchador adventure released in 2013. Besides the Guacamelee series, Drinkbox has worked on a few other games before exploring the Mexi-verse, including their first game, Tales from Space, about a blob, Severed, and their next game, Nobody Saves the World. Based in Toronto, Canada, Drinkbox Studios was founded in 2008 as an independent developer by a handful of people laid off from Pseudo Interactive, who are most notably known for their vehicular car combat game, Cell Damage. After Pseudo's closure, most of the staff left Toronto to look for other work, but the remaining few formed their own studio with the goal of working on games that they wanted to play. However, it would be a few years before Drinkbox was able to make those games. They spent their early years as a studio doing contract work on video games for other companies. This allowed them to build relationships with developers and publishers. More importantly, they were able to build capital to hire more people and begin funding their own games, leading to the release of their first game in 2011.
I love luchadors. You love luchadors.
Love them.
Why luchadors?
Luchadors are a couple of reasons. One, we have a guy on the team who's from the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico, threw the idea forward. And the other idea or reason is that it's amazing. You know, there's so much good material there with luchadors and Mexican culture, and I feel it just hasn't really been used in a fun way.
Drinkbox began internally brainstorming ideas for the next game after finishing development on Tales from Space. The team included less than 10 people at the time, with each person pitching their own idea on a single page. They narrowed down their next project to a luchador side-scrolling platformer proposed by their concept lead, Augusto Quijano. Quijano grew up in Mexico but moved to Canada for college. He relocated in order to pursue his studies in animation before joining Drinkbox as an animator for Tales from Space. Quijano felt nostalgic for Mexico as he had spent quite some time away from home, which pushed him to pitch a Mexican-inspired beat-em-up game.
Why did you choose 2D and not the 3D?
We like the 2D. We took a lot of inspiration from games we grew up playing, and it's easier to make for our team.
Easy.
We always go for easy.
Yeah.
That's us.
Okay.
Some of his initial ideas included saving El Presidente's daughter from La Calaca, inspired by other 2D beat-em-ups such as TMNT, Castle Crashers, and Scott Pilgrim. It featured luchadores with wrestling moves and superpowered moves for combat, putting it together with stylized visuals, dramatic cutscenes, and setting it to a synthesized mariachi soundtrack, all which mostly made their way into the final game, along with other ideas suggested by the rest of the team. Thanks to a partnership with Sony, Drinkbox launched Guacamelee exclusively on the PlayStation 3 and PS Vita before making its way onto other platforms. Eventually, it gathered a few million downloads, setting up the team for a second round to suplex a bigger and better sequel. Guacamelee 2 picks up 7 years after the first game, with Juan stopping Calaca, now living his best life with his wife and 2 kids. This time, he has to put on his mask again to save the entire Mexi-verse against new foes in a refined experience, with everything good about the first game making a return. The tricky but satisfying platforming, the combat sections, the modern mariachi-inspired soundtrack set to a fantasy Mexico, and a story that doesn't take itself too seriously where even its characters are having fun with it. One of Drinkbox's goals with the first game was to balance the platform and combat sections evenly. They continue to pull this off in the sequel, adding unique bosses in between to keep things fresh. You'll find yourself using all of the moves you learned through the fair amount of challenging platform sections, while rooster uppercutting and slamming your way through enemies and obstacles. But if the platforming isn't difficult enough for you, there are optional but rewarding areas if you're looking to test your platform precision. Although, I do wish they had some sort of combat challenges to fight endless enemies in different environments for more lucha combat. Personally, my favorite part is the lucha sections, with plenty of esqueletos to plow through. Combat is easy enough with the press of a single button. The addition of grappling moves make for an amusing amount of variation, allowing you to combo enemies in multiple ways. For example, you can launch enemies into the air, give them a few rounds before smashing them onto the ground or punting and slamming them into each other. Mastering these moves along with the dodge roll will make you a nearly invincible luchador on your quest to defeat Salvador.
I grew up in Mexico and we wanted to really push the color. Like all the luchadores have these awesome costumes like the one you're wearing now. So we didn't want to shy away from that vibrant kind of Mexico.
You like my costume?
I do.
It's a good costume. What's that green stuff?
Oh, that's guacamole.
With Quijano acting as the team's guide on approaching the cultural aspects of the game, he affirmed, "It's the little details that make the game feel authentically Mexican. Those details are the first things that get overlooked from an outsider's perspective, but they stick out so much when you've lived with them your whole life. Those little details are what drew me into the game. The first time I saw the game at a glance, I thought it was a joke. All I saw was a luchador, which is an idea that's already overused for Mexican characters in video games. However, its overall theme piqued my interest, and after playing through it, I realized it was modestly Mexican and full of heart." One may wonder if a Canadian studio can pull off a Mexican adventure. Quijano encourages developers not to be afraid of trying to create characters outside of their own culture, but to make sure they include those people for their input. Thanks to its traditional Mexican culture and folklore design, Guacamelee stands out in the Metroidvania genre, a genre already full of great games. Although there is no shortage of games in the genre, there is an underwhelming amount of cultural representation in media, not just for Mexicans, but for all people from underrepresented backgrounds. As consumers of media, we deserve to see ourselves represented across all media, whether it's in movies, music, or video games.
Anyone can wear the mask. You could wear the mask. If you didn't know that before, I hope you do now.